ask a favor. And that is, will you all move to the center? I won't use a mic, but if I don't have to look to the sides to catch everybody, so if you're not on the end row, you can stay there. One chair. I'm going to start with an advertisement today, but it's part of the message, so it'll work out. And that is that next Sunday afternoon in our living room, we get a group together, and everyone is invited, and we sing through George Frederick Handel's Messiah. We do it just on our own, just because it's fun. How many of you have sung in a high school choir? Okay, how many of you ever sang any of the Messiah choruses? Good. If you didn't sing in a choir, if you didn't sing in a chorus, this is a phrase that I really like. It was from a composer, Gustav Holst, an English composer, and he said, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. And I like that. And his point was that everybody should get a chance to sing the really good stuff or play the good stuff. If you're an actor, you ought to be able just once in your life, if only once, to take a Shakespeare part and really do the tough stuff. Not because you're going to do it to impress everybody else, but you're going to do it for your sake, and you're going to have fun doing it, and you're going to grow in the process, and you're going to get to experience what it's like to deal with the stuff that really lasts. Next Sunday, in our living room at 4 o'clock, there will probably be 25 to 30 people there. We have the Messiah scores. We grade at halftime. We have treats at halftime, and then we come back and sing the last part. It lasts probably an hour and a half or 2 hours. But I mention that as an advertisement because those kind of things I like. They are a joyful part of my life. In fact, our family has been doing that for about almost 50 years. When we were in high school, I had older brothers and a younger sister, and we had friends with another family that were all singers, and we got together just for doing it on our own, and it was so much fun, we kept doing it ever since. Now, that's a part of the message today because we're going to talk about joy. Now, most places, you guys luck out, because in most places where the theme is, when did we see thee, they're going to talk about social justice and your responsibilities to others, because it comes from the scripture that when Jesus said, when I was hungry, you fed me, when I was thirsty, you gave me drink, when I was naked, you clothed me. And the disciples said, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or naked? And Jesus said, whatever you did to the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. So most places are going to get a social justice sermon. But I want to take that theme and I want to turn it around 180 degrees, not talking about what's out there that we should be working on. I want to talk about what's inside. And what is it that, when do we see God inside of us? When we are feeling joyful, when we feel that sense of His presence. So, in order to get there, I got to talk about two things. And we will eventually get to how this all works together, but I got to talk about two things first. And they're very timely. One is Thanksgiving, and the other is joy. And Thanksgiving, we're going to talk about the attitude of gratitude. I like that phrase, that being aware of the source of our of things that we give thanks for. But I really want to talk about joy today. And I'm going to take a little different aspect on it, but I'm going to come back eventually and get to the theme, when did we see you? Part of the sponsoring church, the Community of Christ for Graceland, we have a mission statement. Who can say the mission statement?
People thank Jesus Christ to be communities of joy, hope, love.
Joy, hope, love, and peace. Joy is in our mission statement. It's right there. But I think we do a whole lot more talking about the other three. About hope, and about love, and about peace. Those are sort of action words. I can hope. I can love. I can do things to promote peace. And then we get to this joy business, and it's sort of a state of being. I am joyful. But we don't ever talk about, I'm going to do joy. And what I want to talk about today is how do we do joy? How do we promote joy in our lives? The church is great about talking about oughts, things we ought to do. And the church can come up with long lists of things that we ought to do. Okay, Andrew. And the result, a lot of times, is this is who we get. These are the people of the oughts. Do they give to the church? Yes. Does she always wash and dry the dishes after every meal? Yes. Do they pay their bills on time? Yes. Do they mow the lawn on time? Yes. Does he change the oil every 2,500 miles in the car? Yes. They do all the right things. And what's missing? There ain't no joy in those people. Don't become the people who get so tied up in all the oughts that you just have no time for the joy givers in your life. And a matter of fact, joy has not always been a great move in Christianity. That hasn't been one of the things we talked about. Oh, suffering. We can talk a lot about suffering, and the church is focused on suffering for many, many centuries. If somebody's doing something mean to you, endure it. Smile, because you will be rewarded in heaven if you endure patiently and never lose your faith. And then, coming along in the year 1830, the Community of Christ at the time, Latter-day Saint Church was formed, and in one of our scriptures, there's a line that we don't bring up nearly often enough. In 1830, and the phrase was, man is that he might have joy. And if we're going to update that in political correctness terms or inclusiveness, we would say, we are created to live joyfully. That's what God intended for us to do, to live joyfully. That first picture, that American Gothic picture, they haven't made it yet. They're still looking for that. But in 1830, that message to be joyful was really out of sync with the times. Other churches weren't talking about living joyfully. They were talking about duty. They were talking about faithfulness. But the idea of incorporating joy into your life didn't make it. So I started thinking today, I was trying to think of how have I heard about joy? How have I heard, particularly in church, probably less so recently, but when I was growing up, I could talk about joy in three different ways. One, joy was like peace. Peace is when there isn't any war going on, and joy is like when there isn't anything bad going on. Now, how often in your life have you ever had a situation where you can't think of anything that's bad going on? How can you be joyful when there are people in Africa who are starving? How can you be joyful when you know that there are people in cities and struggling with poverty, homelessness? How can you be joyful in such a situation? That was tough to really get to a concept of joy if you're going to wait until there's nothing bad going on. And this is another one I learned in Sunday school. Maybe you knew it. You know what joy stands for? The letters in joy? What is it?
Jesus, others, and you.
Jesus, others, and you. Jesus comes first, and others always come ahead of you, and then you are at the end there. So if there's anything you want to do, make sure that you've got the others taken care of. You should put others' needs first, and then finally your own. That's going to be hard. There's that one remaining piece of pie in the plate. But you should ask, is there anyone else who wants this piece of pie? Is there anyone else who would rather have that? Who maybe is more deserving than I?